Ever been at the gas station watching those numbers on the pump just keep climbing, and you wonder, who's actually setting this price? You might think it's all local, but the real decisions are being made thousands of miles away by people you've probably never even heard of. So let's get right into this incredible battle for the barrel. Filling up your tank? Who you really think is pulling the strings? The government? The big oil companies? Well, the truth is, it's a lot more complicated and honestly a whole lot more dramatic than you'd think. The real power lies with a cartel. I want you to think of it like a modern-day mafia. But instead of controlling neighborhoods, they control the world's most vital resource. And with just one single decision, made in a palace in Riyadh or a meeting room in Vienna, they can hold entire economies, especially one like India's, completely hostage. And this group has a name you've probably heard, OPEC+. That's the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, plus their key allies, like Russia. Together, this oil mafia basically has a grip on more than half of the entire planet's oil supply. So as you can imagine, when they decide to turn down the taps and cut production, the price of oil just goes through the roof for everybody else. Now, this kind of control creates a huge problem for a fast-growing country like India. It's a massive vulnerability that strikes right at the heart of the economy, creating what is, for all intents and purposes, a hostage situation. And if you want to grasp just how big this problem is, you only need to know one number, 85%. That's the percentage of crude oil that India is forced to import. Just let that sink in. The vast majority of the fuel powering the entire nation has to come from somewhere else. That's not just a weakness, that's a gigantic strategic risk. And that 85% dependency puts the country in a terrible economic squeeze. It triggers what's called import bill shock, which just sucks up the country's cash reserves. That, in turn, leads to runaway inflation, making everything you buy more expensive. And maybe worst of all is the geopolitical blackmail. India's foreign policy has been constrained for decades because of this need for oil. It was just a price taker. But the game is finally changing. And here's where things get really interesting. India has quietly launched a full-blown, multi-front war against this energy cartel. But this is a totally different kind of war. It's not being fought with soldiers and tanks, but with solar panels, sugarcane, and some seriously clever diplomacy. All right, front number one, this is a direct assault on oil's dominance. The strategy is simple, but it is incredibly powerful. If you can't control the supply, you have to destroy the demand. And how do you do that? With an aggressive, all-out push for electric vehicles. The goal here is nothing less than making petrol and diesel cars a thing of the past. Through government programs like the FAME scheme that gives out subsidies and a huge investment in charging infrastructure, the aim is to get as many vehicles as possible running on electricity. Because every single EV that hits the road is a victory. It's one less vehicle that needs to burn foreign oil. But let's be realistic. The EV revolution is going to take time. So for a weapon that can be used right now, India is turning to one of its greatest natural strengths, agriculture. And this brings us to the second front. The strategy is called ethanol blending. The government is pushing to have petrol mixed with up to 20% ethanol, which is a biofuel made from things like sugarcane. Now this is a masterstroke because it kills two birds with one stone. It directly reduces the amount of petrol you need to import, and it redirects money that would have gone to foreign oil producers right into the pockets of Indian farmers. Okay, front number three. Here we move from pure economics to geopolitical hardball. For years, India was a captive customer of Middle Eastern oil producers. That all changed dramatically. In a bold move that defied Western pressure, India started buying huge amounts of discounted oil from Russia. The message to OPEC was crystal clear. We will buy from whoever gives us the best price, period. But it's not enough to just buy from different sellers. Front four is about building a new kind of power. India is asking a very simple question. Why should the sellers be the only ones with a cartel? So now it's leading the charge to form a buyer's cartel, teaming up with other huge consumers like China and Japan to create a powerful bloc that can bargain together for better prices. Front five is all about having an insurance policy. It's a national safeguard designed specifically to protect the country from those sudden price shocks that OPEC Plus loves to create. This insurance comes in the form of strategic petroleum reserves. We're talking about massive underground caverns filled with millions and millions of barrels of crude oil. They act like a giant shock absorber. When OPEC Plus tries to squeeze the market by cutting supply, India can simply release its own reserves, keep prices stable, and give itself crucial breathing room to negotiate. And that brings us to the sixth and final front, the ultimate endgame. This is India's multi-billion-dollar moonshot to not just fight the cartel, but to leapfrog the entire fossil fuel era. The grand plan is to become a global hub for green hydrogen, transforming from an energy importer into a post-oil superpower. So when you put all of these pieces together, you see this isn't just a random collection of policies. It is a calculated chess match. For every single weapon that OPEC Plus has in its arsenal, India has developed a specific counterweapon. They cut production, India diversifies. They try to leverage their monopoly, India kills demand. They create price volatility, India uses its reserves. And to counter their plan for long-term dominance, India is building a future where their oil is simply irrelevant. So, has India won the war? Not yet. But this is the critical part. This is no longer a one-sided fight. The entire nature of the battlefield has completely changed. The shift is fundamental. In the past, India was a passive price taker, just forced to accept whatever price was dictated. Today, it's an active strategic player. It's gone from being a captive customer to using its own massive market as a weapon. India is no longer just following the rules of the energy game, it's rewriting them. This quote just captures the entire strategy perfectly. It's not about a single dramatic knockout punch. This is a war of attrition. The goal is to inflict 1,000 cuts, to slowly chip away at the cartel's influence, break its pricing power, and ultimately speed up its journey to irrelevance. So, while the oil mafia is far from dead and its power is still immense, a real fight is finally underway. Every EV sold, every liter of ethanol blended, every new energy partnership, they're all small victories. And the question we're left with is this: has India finally and officially started the clock on the extinction of the oil age?